Welcome back, guys, to GTS-Tech. Today we're going to look at the creation of two virtual networks. So we're going to create the first one within the Azure portal, and the second one we're going to create within the CLI environment. So the reason we create virtual networks is because it allows resources within that virtual network to communicate privately with each other and the internet. So you should be thinking about virtual networks like subnets on your on-prem network. So we're going to start by creating a resource group, as every resource you create must go into a resource group. Now, if you just create a virtual network, it's going to give you the opportunity. So I'll just quickly show you that. So when you create any resource within the Azure portal, it's always going to give you the option of either drop down and using a existing resource group, or it's going to allow you to create a new resource group as you go. We're always going to do it separately because it gets you into that habit of creating those first. So the first thing we're going to do is go back. We're going to start looking for resource group. Click on that, and we're going to create a new one. Ours is a pay-as-you-go subscription, so we are going to work with a really easy naming format this time. So VNet1 RG for resource group, and we're going to create ours. Again, you create them locally to where you are. So this one I'm going to create in the UK West. I'm going to do tags now, and I'm going to say VNet1, and the value is UK West, and we will then create. So that's going to be the resource group. That's created, validation passed. Press create. We'll now go into that. Perfect. Excellent, that one's done. So now we're going to look for virtual networks. Virtual, again, through the search bar, virtual networks. We're going to start off with the add button in the side, and we're going to go straight into the basics, which is pay as you go resource group. We're going to drop down, pick our VNet1, because that's where our resource group is going to be. And the name of our resource group is going to be, again, nice simplified naming convention, VNet1. So that one's okay, and we're going to create it in UK West. Because we've already chosen the resource group, it knows the region it's going to put the virtual network into. So we're now going to look at IP addresses. So the IP for address space is always going to be 10.0.0.016. That's going to give you 65,000 addresses, which is more than enough. So then once you've got that address space, you're then going to break it down into subnets. I don't like default as the subnet name. We're going to change the name of that, and we're going to change that into private. Here we go, subnet name private, and we're going to call that, and that's going to be in the 24 address range. And we're not going to cover service endpoints at this point. We will come back to that. We'll save that, so that comes through there, and we'll go on to security. We're not going to cover those in this, but we will expand on this in future episodes, and we will show you how to get a Bastion host up. We'll also show you how to create and configure firewalls, but in this one we're going to keep it nice and simple, and we are just going to create the virtual network. Next one, we're going to look at the tags for this. As I said, tags is always useful. So tags allows you to compartmentalize resources that you've created, and it's predominantly used for billing, review, and it's going to validate it. So it's going to make sure it doesn't exist. So this one looks good. So we're now going to create. Okay guys, so we're going to start with our second virtual network, and we're going to create that through the CLI. So to open up the CLI, we choose the CLI environment or the Cloud Shell, and that is going to open up an environment down the bottom of the screen, and your options here are going to be PowerShell or Bash. We are going to use Bash for this, so it's going to go into the CLI environment. We're just going to type in AZ, and that is going to open up CLI. So first off, we're going to create a resource group, then we are going to create the virtual network itself. AZ group create location, and we're going to try UK South for this one, and then we're going to do name, and it is going to be called VNet2 RG. Nice simple naming convention. And there you go. Again, go through the scripts, make sure you're familiar with what comes up when you, or the output of these scripts, because you will be expected to know this as part of the exam, in both exams. So in the Azure 104 and certainly the AZ 500, it's going to check you on CLI and PowerShell. So make sure you are familiar with that. So the second thing we're going to do is just now create the network, the virtual network. So it's AZ network. And we are going to go vnet create, and we're going to do the resource group next. Resource group, which we know is going to be vnet2rg. We're going to go for a name now, which is going to be vnet. Let me just not capitalize that. vnet2. Then we're going to go for an IP address, which is the address prefix. Address prefix, make sure I'm typing that right. The address prefixes, and we're going to say 10.1.0.016, so not 167, that's 16, and then we're going to come through and do the subnet name. Subnet name is going to be, what we're going to call it, private. We called the last one private on our virtual network one, so we're going to call this one private. And we go for our subnet prefixes, and we're going to say 10.1.0.024, and that is going to create our second network. So let's see if we get any errors. There we go, so that's now created. So with both networks now created, we're going to take a look within the Azure portal. And the best way of doing this is either through the icon, which should have been created when you created that first one, or you can go back into the search bar and just type in virtual, and it should come up with virtual networks, which this one does, and we open it from there. As you can see, both virtual networks are now created. So we go into the first one, and we can see subnet masks. Subnets are private, and that's the IP address, the correct one. And if we go into vnet2, subnets private, and again the IP address. So that's both the virtual networks created, one within the Azure portal, one within CLI. I won't cover what the blades do at this point in time. You can go through that process yourself, but I will be covering them in a different video, more in depth. So for the last part of this video, I think I'm going to set a kind of an exam question. So what I will do is I will post that exam question up on the screen now, and the first person to put in the comments below the correct answer, I shall pin. Thank you very much indeed. I shall speak to you very soon. Take care of yourself, and good luck. Bye.